Bears down 41-12. All eyes are on Fields. He's limping there. He gets hit in the pocket after planting and throwing, but he was okay. Played the entire second half, but not a good game overall for the Chicago Bears. They go down 41-15 to the Bills. The Bills improving to 2-0 in the preseason. Chicago falling to 0-2. They open the regular season to the Bills against the Steelers. Bears open the regular season against the Rams on Sunday Night Football. They still, of course, have one more preseason game left to play next week. And for more on this game and what he liked and what he didn't like, let's now welcome in CBS Sports senior NFL writer Pete Prisco. Pete, this was a game that was over as a competitive contest pretty quickly. We knew we were going to see Justin Fields today. Unfortunately, he came in when the game was pretty much out of reach. But when you look at it, how did you assess what you saw from Fields versus the starter Andy Dalton?
Well, it wasn't great, but he did some really good things, and that's the most important thing. Both guys struggled at times. The offensive line play wasn't very good. They took some shots, and you saw Justin Fields take a big shot late in that game. But the most important thing is he got back up. And he went back in there and he made some throws. And there were some decisions that were questionable. He locked on the receivers at times. But he got outside the pocket. He used his legs. And I think that gives them another element to their offense that they might need because the offensive line isn't very good. So it was uneven. It wasn't great. It was solid. There were some good plays. There were some bad plays. But in my mind, there's no question he should be the starting quarterback. And people will say, well, how can you say that based off the preseason? I'm not saying that based on the preseason. I'm saying that on getting on with it. He's their future. He's their guy. Andy Dalton is Andy Dalton. He's a stopgap kind of guy. He's probably more of a backup quarterback now, and I don't think he should be the starter. I think if you draft a guy like Justin Fields, you put him in there and you let him play.
Based off what you saw this week from Fields, Pete, would you start him next week against the Packers in that preseason finale?
Probably. I mean, yeah, I would start him. If I was going to name him as my starting quarterback, I'd certainly start him next week and let him get some work. I wouldn't give him a ton of work, but I'd let him get some work with the first team and then go on from that in the following week. Now, some teams are going to play that differently this year. Remember, there's only 3 preseason games, but there's also 3 weeks between the time you play a game and the time you play a real one. So that's also different. So it'll be interesting to see how teams play it. But, yeah, if I have in the back of my mind that Justin Fields is going to be my starting quarterback, absolutely I'd play him next week.
Okay, on the other side of that, who hurt themselves? Who were the losers in this contest, as it were?
Well, I mean, I think when you look at the overall loser, I think it's the depth of the Chicago Bears. I really think that, you look at their depth, it's a problem. If they have any injuries up front on the offensive line, it will be a disaster. It's not a good group as is. They went out and signed Jason Peters. I think he came into the league when I started covering it way back about 32 years ago. He's a veteran guy, sure, but he's not the same player he used to be. But that tells you how desperate they are. Remember, Tevin Jenkins, their high draft pick, is no longer there. He has a back injury. He'll probably miss half the season. So it's a concern up front. I think the depth at the offensive line, but the depth overall. It was not a good performance by the Bears. I also think that when you look at their group together, if they don't pick it up defensively, remember, this is a team that, they carry the cards for that team. They have to be able to stop people defensively, and they looked very, lethargic and it didn't look like they were a good defense today, and that's a big concern.
Lots of questions for Matt Nagy to answer over the course of the next week as they get ready for their preseason finale. Thanks, Pete. Enjoy the rest of the action today and tonight. I know you're going to be all over it. You know who else is going to be enjoying all the action today? Will Brinson and the guys in the Pick 6 podcast. They're on top of everything going on as the 2021 season approaches. Download and follow the Pick 6 podcast wherever you get your preferred podcasts.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.